Rich people think big. Poor people think small. Harv Eker. There's a reason this quote hits like a thunderbolt, because in just 8 words, Harv Eker exposed one of the deepest truths about human success. Rich people think big. Poor people think small. This isn't about money. It's about mindset. It's about the invisible architecture of your thoughts, the blueprint that decides whether you play life to win or play it safe. Because listen, the difference between those who succeed and those who struggle isn't luck. It's not education. It's not background. It's not talent. It's vision. Rich people, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, think on a larger scale. They see possibilities where others see problems. They imagine futures while others are stuck in fear. And here's the hard truth. Most people never reach their full potential, not because they're not capable, but because their thinking is too small to hold their dreams. When Harv Eker wrote Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, he wasn't just talking about bank accounts. He was talking about the inner psychology of abundance, the difference between a mind trained to expand and a mind conditioned to shrink. He said something that changed my life. The size of your success is determined by the size of your belief. Read that again, because that one sentence is everything. If your belief is small, your life will shrink to fit it. If your belief is big, your world will expand to match it. That's the law of the universe. Your external reality will always reflect your internal vision. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Let's make this real. When you think small, you see limitation. You think, I can't afford that. I'm not ready. I'm not smart enough. You immediately close doors before they even open. But when you think big, you ask different questions. You ask, how can I afford that? How can I learn what I need? Who can help me get there? The difference is massive because one question kills possibility and the other creates it. Rich thinkers live in the world of how. Poor thinkers live in the world of why not. And here's what Eker discovered. Your brain is a goal-seeking machine. Whatever size of goal you feed it, it will find a way to match it. If you give it small dreams, it will deliver small results. But if you feed it big, powerful, bold visions, it will rise to the challenge. That's why successful people seem almost fearless. Not because they never feel fear, but because they've trained their minds to look beyond it. Let me tell you a story. When Harv Eker was broke, living in a small apartment, working odd jobs, he realized something. He wasn't poor because of circumstance. He was poor because of thought. He was thinking like a survivor, not like a creator. He was thinking about bills, not about building. He was thinking about problems, not about possibilities. And the day he decided to shift his mindset, to think big, everything changed. He stopped asking, how do I pay rent? And started asking, how do I build wealth? He stopped thinking in days and weeks and started thinking in years and decades. That shift, that mental expansion, turned him from a broke dreamer into a multimillionaire mentor. That's the power of thinking big. And I want you to understand this. Thinking big isn't about arrogance. It's not about ego or showing off. It's about purpose. Thinking big means you recognize the full potential of the life you've been given. It means you stop underestimating yourself. It means you stop playing small just to make others comfortable. Thinking big is responsibility, because when you think big, you create big change in your family, your community, your future. You see, poor thinkers often believe they're being humble by staying small. But there's nothing humble about wasting your potential. There's nothing noble about shrinking from your purpose. You were not born to be invisible. You were born to expand. Let me say this straight. You cannot live a big life with a small mindset. You can't build $1 million dream with a $100 belief system. You can't lead, inspire, create, or innovate while you're thinking, what if I fail? Thinking big is uncomfortable, but that's where growth lives. Because the size of your growth is equal to the size of your challenges. If you only think small, you'll only face small problems. But if you think big, you'll face big problems. And that's good, because big problems create big people. That's what Eker means when he says, rich people think big. They choose goals that scare them because they know fear is the gateway to power. And here's what I want you to realize. Every rich thinker started as a poor thinker. No one is born thinking big. We're conditioned to think small by parents, by teachers, by society. We're told to play safe, not to dream too high, not to want too much. But those are other people's limits, not yours. You can break that programming. You can rewire your mind for abundance. How? By exposure. Expose yourself to bigger ideas. Expose yourself to bigger goals, bigger people, bigger possibilities. When you surround yourself with small thinkers, your dreams will feel too big. But when you surround yourself with big thinkers, your dreams will start to feel too small. That's the magic of environment. If you want to think bigger, change your environment. Read books written by giants. Listen to mentors who live on another level. Put yourself in rooms that stretch your identity, because your mind can't grow inside a box. You see, there's something powerful that happens when you raise your standard. When you say, I'm done thinking small. I'm done surviving. I'm ready to build something extraordinary. That moment is the birth of transformation, because your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. If you design small, you live small. If you design bold, you live bold. You don't need permission to think big. You just need courage to believe that you can. And if you still doubt yourself, let me tell you something I've learned. You don't have to be ready to think big. You just have to start. Because thinking big isn't about knowing how to get there. It's about believing you can get there. The how will come later. But the belief, that's the foundation. Now, I want you to stop for a second. Close your eyes and imagine the biggest version of your life. Not the version that's realistic, not the one people expect from you, the one that scares you, the one that excites you, the one that makes your heart beat faster. That version, that's your true potential. And here's the truth. If that version fits comfortably inside your current thinking, it's not big enough yet. Thinking big isn't about fantasy. It's about possibility. It's about stretching what you believe is possible until the impossible becomes normal. That's how every innovator, every leader, every billionaire, every world changer began. They all saw something bigger than what existed. Let's go deeper. If thinking big is the secret, then the question becomes, how do you do it? How do you actually train your mind to think big when your entire life you've been surrounded by small thinking? How do you build a vision so powerful that it pulls you forward every single day, no matter what life throws at you? Because let's be honest, the world doesn't make it easy. From the moment we're kids, most of us are trained to play small. Don't dream too big. Be realistic. Set achievable goals. We hear those words so many times that we start believing them. We shrink our dreams to fit inside other people's comfort zones. We start calling our fears being practical. And before we know it, we're living lives that look safe on the outside, but feel empty on the inside. That's what small thinking does. It gives you comfort, but steals your fire. Here's what rich thinkers do differently. They make their vision bigger than their fear. They understand that thinking big doesn't start with money or opportunity. It starts with identity. You can't think big if you secretly believe you're small. You can't set million-dollar goals if deep down you don't believe you're worthy of success. That's why every transformation starts with mindset. Because the size of your success will never exceed the size of your self-image. Let me say that again. The size of your success will never exceed the size of your self-image. You can't outperform your own belief system. If you believe you're average, you'll behave average. If you believe you're unstoppable, you'll act unstoppable. That's why rich thinkers don't just visualize money. They visualize themselves becoming the kind of person who creates it. They see themselves as creators, leaders, builders, givers. They don't wait to earn confidence. They decide confidence. And that's what separates them from the rest. Now let's talk about something powerful, the mind's comfort zone. Your brain has one primary job, to keep you safe. It doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about survival. Every time you try to think bigger than your current reality, your brain says, "Whoa, hold on. That's risky. That's uncertain. What if you fail?" That voice isn't evil. It's protection. But if you obey it, you'll never grow. Rich thinkers have learned how to override that voice. They feel the fear and move anyway. They've trained their brains to associate growth with pleasure and stagnation with pain. Because the truth is, comfort and greatness cannot coexist. Let's break it down into 3 levels of thinking that Eker often talks about: the poor, the middle class, and the rich mindset. How to 1. Poor thinking. Poor thinkers focus on survival. Their mental energy goes into questions like, how do I pay the bills? How do I get through the week? Their attention is consumed by the immediate. They live in reaction, not creation. 2. Middle-class thinking. Middle-class thinkers focus on stability. They dream a little, but within limits. They might say, I want a nice house, or I want to save for retirement. They're comfortable, but comfort kills growth. 3. Rich thinking. Rich thinkers focus on expansion. They don't ask, how can I survive? They ask, how can I multiply? How can I create impact? How can I serve at scale? They think in systems, not paychecks. They build value, not hours. They ask questions that stretch reality. Here's a truth that hit me hard when I first heard it. The size of your question determines the size of your answer. If you ask small questions, your brain gives you small solutions. If you ask, how can I make an extra $100 this month? Your mind finds a small fix. But if you ask, how can I build a system that creates $10,000 a month in value? Your brain begins to stretch. You activate creativity. You start noticing new opportunities because your brain is designed to solve the problems you give it. Feed it bigger problems and it'll rise to meet them. That's how rich people think. They're not smarter. They're not luckier. They just give their brain bigger challenges to solve. Now, let's get practical. How do you start thinking big today? Here are 5 mental habits that will reprogram your mind for abundance. Habit 1. Expand your questions. Every morning, ask yourself, what's one bold move I can make today? What would the next level of me do? Force your brain to stretch beyond survival. Habit 2. Surround yourself with big energy. Your environment is either growing you or shrinking you. Spend time with people who challenge you, people who make you feel slightly uncomfortable, not because they judge you, but because they remind you of your potential. When you hang around big thinkers, your excuses stop sounding reasonable. Habit 3. Set ridiculously big goals. Most people fail not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Set goals that make your stomach turn, the kind that require you to evolve to achieve them. When your goals are big enough, they'll pull you through every obstacle. Habit 4. Focus on impact, not income. Rich thinkers don't chase money, they chase meaning. They ask, how can I add massive value to people's lives? Because money follows value. The more value you create, the more wealth you attract. It's universal law. Habit 5. Rewrite your inner script. Catch yourself when you think small. When you say, I can't, replace it with, how can I? When you say, I don't know, replace it with, I'll find out. Because your language shapes your life. Every word you speak is programming your subconscious. Speak limitation and you live limited. Speak expansion and you live expanded. Let's do a quick exercise right now. Grab a notebook, or if you're walking, just imagine this in your mind. Write down the 3 biggest dreams you have. Now ask yourself, what would this goal look like if I multiplied it by 10? Not as a fantasy, as a challenge. What if instead of earning $5,000 a month, you aimed for $50,000? Instead of helping 100 people, you aimed to help 1,000. Instead of dreaming of a better job, you dreamed of building your own company. How would your actions change? How would your decisions change? That's the power of thinking big. It shifts your identity from employee to creator, from dreamer to doer, from limited to limitless. You see, when you think small, you build walls. When you think big, you build doors. And every great achiever in history started by thinking big. Before they had the money, before they had the plan, before they were ready. They believed first. They acted second. And the world responded. Because the universe doesn't reward fear. It rewards faith. It doesn't give you what you wish for. It gives you what you believe for. So if you want to change your financial future, stop trying to fix your circumstances. Fix your vision. Because your outer world is a mirror of your inner world. You don't build wealth by chasing money. You build it by expanding your mind. Let me ask you this. What if the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the size of your thinking? What if every obstacle, every delay, every struggle was simply a test to see how big you're willing to think before you quit? Because life will always test your faith before it rewards your vision. And those who think small give up early. But those who think big, they endure, they adapt, they rise. Rich thinkers understand that everything grows from mindset first. You don't grow income, then mindset. You grow mindset, then income follows. That's why you must feed your mind every day like your life depends on it. Because it does. You've made it this far. That means something powerful. You're not just listening, you're becoming. You're beginning to recognize the patterns that have been holding you back. The invisible limits that were never truly yours. They were borrowed from the world around you. And now it's time to break them. Because every person alive has 2 voices inside them. The voice of limitation and the voice of expansion. The voice of limitation whispers, be careful. Don't risk it. Stay where it's safe. It tells you to think small, to shrink your dreams so you don't disappoint yourself. But the voice of expansion, that's the one that leads to greatness. It says there's more in you. You were made for more. You haven't even scratched the surface yet. That's the voice of your higher self. And it's time to listen to it. Because here's the truth. You cannot think small and live big. You cannot build a legacy while hiding behind comfort. The moment you expand your thinking, everything in your life starts to shift. Your energy changes. Your posture changes. Your standards rise. You stop saying, I hope this works, and start saying, I will make this work. You stop chasing permission and start claiming your power. Because no one is coming to make your dream happen for you. No one is going to hand you abundance. You have to claim it. Through your thoughts, through your actions, through your relentless belief. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you did something that scared you? Something that forced you to grow? Because growth never happens in comfort. If you want a bigger life, you must be willing to feel the discomfort of expansion. You must be willing to feel fear and move anyway. That's what rich thinkers do. They use fear as fuel. They don't wait for confidence. They create it through action. Every time you act in the direction of your bigger vision, you strengthen your belief muscle. And belief, that's the real currency of success. Money follows belief. Opportunity follows belief. Freedom follows belief. Because belief is the foundation of every great empire. Let me share a story. Years ago, I met a young man who had everything stacked against him. He grew up in poverty. He was told by everyone around him that success was for other people. He worked 3 jobs just to survive. But deep down, he had a vision, a small flicker of a dream that said, one day, I'll create something that changes lives. He didn't have money. He didn't have connections. But he had one thing, a big thought. He decided he would no longer think like a victim. He would no longer make decisions based on fear. He would think like the man he wanted to become. And you know what happened? Within 5 years, he built a business that not only gave him financial freedom, but helped hundreds of others do the same. He became the person he once imagined, not because he had the resources, but because he became resourceful. He thought big, and the universe responded. That's how it works. Thinking big isn't a luxury, it's a responsibility. Because when you think big, you don't just change your life, you change everyone connected to you. Your family starts to see new possibilities. Your friends start to question their limits. You create ripples that turn into waves. That's what wealth really is. Not just money, but multiplication of impact. Every time you choose to think bigger, you give others permission to do the same. So don't play small. The world doesn't need another average dream. The world needs your full potential unleashed. Now let's bring this home. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes for just a moment. I want you to picture your life 5 years from now. Not the one that feels safe, but the one that feels alive. See it clearly. The home you live in, the people you've helped, the financial freedom, the joy, the peace, the power. That version of you is waiting, but it can only exist on the other side of big thinking. You've got to start acting from that future version of yourself now, because the world changes when you do. Remember this, the difference between the rich and the poor isn't luck, it's vision. The rich think in terms of abundance. The poor think in terms of limitation. The rich think in decades. The poor think in days. The rich think impact. The poor think survival. And the choice, the mindset, is yours. So today I challenge you. Stop thinking about what could go wrong. Start thinking about what could go right. Stop worrying about how small your start is. Start focusing on how big your finish can be. Because small thinking costs more than big dreams ever will. My friend, if today's episode sparked something inside you, if it reminded you that your potential is bigger than your past, then remember this. You are not meant to think small. You are not meant to survive. You are meant to expand, evolve, and lead. And that's what the Immortal Quotes podcast is here for, to awaken the giant within you. One quote at a time. If you felt this message, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tag them, send it, speak it, because you never know. One thought can change a life. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and follow so you never miss an episode. Every day, we're diving deeper into the timeless wisdom that builds unstoppable minds and unshakable wealth. Next episode preview. Your mind is your greatest asset. Robert Kiyosaki. In the next episode, we'll explore how your mind, not your job, not your degree, not your background, is the most powerful wealth-building tool you'll ever own. We'll break down how to train it, grow it, and protect it like the priceless asset it is. Because once you master your mind, money, success, and freedom will follow naturally. So stay tuned, my friend. This is your time. This is your awakening. Until next time, keep thinking big, keep growing, and never forget, you are the investment, you are the vision, you are the wealth. This is the Immortal Quotes Podcast, where timeless words create unstoppable minds.